Welcome to the deep dive. You know, sometimes you look at a dish with just maybe 4 or 5 ingredients and think simple, but then you find out there's this whole world of technique hidden inside.
Absolutely. And today's topic, risotto, is a perfect example.
It really is. Just rice, stock, onion, wine. Seems basic.
But ask any Italian chef, and they'll tell you it's a real test of skill. It's all about nuance. We've gathered some top-level insights, really, the secrets to getting that perfect, creamy texture every time.
So that's our mission for this deep dive, to give you that shortcut, unpack the key steps, the things you absolutely can't skip if you want that amazing, silky, liquid gold result.
Right. It's about understanding the why behind each step. Let's start at the very beginning, even before you turn on the stove. It's all about the rice.
Yeah, I used to think rice was just rice. But the sources we looked at were incredibly specific. You can't just use any old long grain stuff.
Definitely not.
They kept mentioning 3 main types, arborio, carnaroli, and violone nano.
And while arborio is, pretty common and accessible.
It's the one you see most often in supermarkets.
Exactly. But if you're aiming for, true perfection, the chefs really point towards carnaroli. It's consistently called the king of risotto rice.
Okay, so what makes it so special? Is it the starch?
It is. It's all about how it releases its starch. Carnaroli does it slowly, very consistently.
Okay, and why is that slow release so important?
Because that's what gives you the creaminess, that amazing velvety texture. But, and this is crucial, it does it while keeping the actual grain intact. You get creamy, but not
mushy. You still want that little bite, right?
Precisely.
Yeah.
Carnaroli gives you both, the creamy sauce and the distinct grains. It holds its shape.
Makes sense. Okay, so we've got our carnaroli. Step 2 is the base, the sofrito. And I think this is where a lot of us maybe go wrong right away, thinking high heat.
Oh, absolutely. Big mistake. You want a delicate foundation. If you blast it with heat and brown the onion, you've already kind of compromised the final dish.
So it's about sweating it.
Yes, exactly. Low heat, nice and slow. You just want the onion to become translucent, sweet, gentle cooking, no color.
Right, the sources said it creates this sweet, almost background flavor, letting the rice be the star. I did see mentions of adding, super finely diced celery or carrot sometimes.
You can. It adds a bit more depth, a subtle savory note.
Yeah.
But the technique stays the same. Gentle, gentle heat.
Got it. So once that sofrito is ready, we add the rice for toasting.
Correct. You add the dry carnaroli to the pan with the onion and the fat. And you stir it for, say, 2 or 3 minutes.
Why do we do that? What's the point of toasting it dry?
It's strategic. You're coating each grain in that fat. This kind of seals the outside of the rice grain.
Ah, okay.
And that seal is what helps control the starch release later on when you start adding the liquid. It ensures it happens gradually.
This is where it got really interesting for me reading the chef's notes. They talked about intuition here. They used that phrase, parlare con il riso, to speak with the rice.
Yes. It's less about timing and more about listening. You stir, and you listen very closely.
What are you listening for?
A faint crackling sound. It's quite distinct once you know it. When you hear that little crackle, that's the rice telling you, okay, I'm perfectly toasted, I'm ready for the wine. It's a chef's intuition thing.
That's a fantastic detail. Okay, rice is toasted, crackling slightly. Time for liquid. First up, white wine for deglazing.
Right. Adds acidity, balances the richness, but there's a huge pitfall here.
Letting it evaporate fully.
Absolutely critical. You must let all that alcohol cook off completely. If you rush it and add stock too soon, you get this sharp, raw wine taste that just ruins the balance.
And here's a pro tip I picked up from the material. The wine should be room temperature, not cold from the fridge.
Good point.
Okay.
Yes. Adding cold wine can shock the rice, suddenly drop the temperature of the pan. Room temp keeps everything consistent.
And that consistency leads right into maybe the biggest rule of all regarding liquid, the stock.
Ah, yes. The non-negotiable rule. The stock must always be hot. Always.
Okay, confession time. I have definitely, in the past, just ladled in cold stock from a carton, thinking, oh, it'll heat up. That's bad, isn't it?
That is. Well, it's probably the single most damaging thing you can do.
Why? What does it actually do to the rice?
It slams the brakes on the cooking. Cold liquid makes the rice grains seize up, basically. It stops that gradual starch release dead in its tracks. You lose the creamy flow you've been building. It ruins the texture.
Okay, that makes total sense. You need that continuous, gentle cooking process, which explains why chefs always have that separate pot of stock just simmering away right next to the risotto pan.
Exactly. Constant simmering heat, thermal continuity.
Right. Now let's talk stirring. The big myth is that you have to stir it nonstop for like 20 minutes. Arm falls off.
Total myth, and actually counterproductive.
Really?
Yeah, stirring too much, too aggressively can break the grains down, make it gluey. It's not about constant motion, it's about rhythmic stirring.
Rhythmic. Okay, so what does that mean in practice?
It means you stir for a bit, maybe 20, 30 seconds, to help release the starch from the outside of the grains. Then you let it rest. Let the rice absorb the liquid. Then you add the next ladle of hot stock, stir again, wait again, repeat. It's a cycle. Stir, absorb, add, stir, absorb, add.
So it's more like coaxing the starch out, not beating it out.
Precisely. Chefs talk about il tocco della mano, the touch of the hand. It's about feeling the rice, understanding when it needs liquid, when it needs stirring, when it needs to rest. You're guiding it.
Guiding it. I like that.
Yeah.
And that guiding also involves heat control, doesn't it? It can't be too high or too low.
Spot on. That's the other crucial element. You need this steady, gentle simmer. Some sources called it rice meditation, which I think captures that feeling of focused calm.
Rice meditation, yeah. Because too high in?
Liquid evaporates too fast, the outside cooks, but the inside stays hard and chalky. Too low, and it doesn't release enough starch. It doesn't get creamy. It just gets waterlogged, mushy.
Finding that sweet spot. And if you get the heat, the stock, the stirring rhythm just right, there's a target time, isn't there?
There is. Culinary schools often teach this. The golden standard for perfect al dente texture is generally around 18 minutes.
18 minutes. That's a great number for people to keep in mind.
It's a very reliable benchmark, assuming everything else is done correctly. The rice should be cooked through, but still have a little resistance, a slight bite, in the center.
Okay, so we're nearing 18 minutes. It looks creamy.
Ah.
How do we know for sure it's ready? There's a test, right?
Well,
the wave test.
Yes, the Hollanda test. Hollanda means like a wave. You tilt the pan,
Anna?
and the risotto should flow gently, like a thick wave. It shouldn't be stiff or static, and it definitely shouldn't be runny or soupy. It needs to move, but hold its body. That's the sign.
Like liquid gold flow. Okay, it flows. We're ready for the final step, the big finish, manicatura.
The magic step.
Yeah.
And critically, this happens off the heat.
Off the heat, right. You turn the burner off completely.
Completely off. Then you add your enrichment, cubes of cold butter, and freshly grated Parmesan cheese.
Okay, wait. Cold butter? I always assumed you'd add it while it was still bubbling away. Why cold, and why off the heat?
Because you're creating an emulsion. The residual heat in the rice is enough to melt the cold butter slowly. If the heat was still on or the butter was melted, it would just make it greasy.
Okay.
And here's the other key part of mantecatura. Chefs don't really stir it aggressively with a spoon at this point. They tend to vigorously shake the pan or use very gentle folding motions.
Shaking the pan, why?
It incorporates air and helps the cold butter and cheese emulsify properly with the starches. It binds everything together into this incredibly smooth, glossy, almost unified texture. That's what gives risotto its signature shine and silkiness without breaking the rice. Stirring hard on the heat would just make it heavy or springy.
So that final technique, off the heat, cold butter, shaking, or gentle folding, that's the secret to the perfect texture and shine.
It is absolutely fundamental. It elevates it from just cooked rice with cheese to true risotto.
Yeah.
And then you have to serve it. Instantly.
No rest.
Almost none. Maybe 1 minute, 2 at the absolute most, just for everything to settle. But you serve it immediately while it still has that beautiful Hollanda wave.
What happens if you wait too long?
The starch tightens up as it cools. It goes from flowing and creamy to, well, stodgy, heavy. You lose all that beautiful texture you worked so hard for. It needs to be plated and eaten while it's still alive, essentially.
Serve immediately. Got it. Okay, beyond those core steps, there were a few extra chef secrets mentioned for like refining the flavor at the end.
Yeah, simple but effective touches. A tiny bit of lemon zest stirred in right at the end can really brighten it up, cut through the richness.
Nice.
Or a drizzle of really good olive oil, maybe truffle oil if you like that, or some fresh herbs, just little grace notes.
And one rule seemed universal: seasoning. Only
Right.
at the end, right?
Absolutely, because your stock is already seasoned, and as it reduces, the saltiness concentrates.
Right.
If you salt too early, you risk it being way too salty by the time it's cooked. So you do the mantecatura, then you taste, and then you adjust seasoning if needed, only then.
It's fascinating, isn't it? When you break it all down, mastering risotto isn't really about fancy ingredients. It's about mastering process.
It really is. It's about timing, heat management, that rhythmic attention, the touch of the hand. It demands your focus. You can't rush it or ignore the rules.
Okay, so let's quickly recap the absolute must-dos. Use the right rice, ideally carnaroli.
Keep that stock simmering hot.
Toast the rice properly. Listen for the crackle.
Use rhythmic stirring, not constant. Find that rice meditation heat level.
Nail the Alonda test.
And master the mantecatura off the heat. Cold butter, gentle incorporation.
Serve immediately.
Those are the keys. And, you know, the chefs we studied had this more profound take on it, too. They said making risotto isn't just cooking.
It's a dialogue.
Exactly. A dialogue between you, the rice, and time.
I love that. And it leads to their final piece of wisdom, which really stuck with me and applies way beyond cooking.
Which is?
When you cook risotto, time doesn't serve you. You serve time.
That really makes you think, doesn't it? About committing to a process, respecting the time it takes, not trying to bend it to your will, but working with it.
It does.
Yeah.
So we'll leave you with that thought, whether it's risotto, learning a new skill, tackling a project. What does it mean in your world to truly serve time? Something to ponder. That's it for this deep dive.